Hello. It's wonderful to have these moments with you. Let's make a difference together. Talk to Win is the name of this presentation, and it breaks down into your audience, you, the message, and the business that you want to conduct, or we want to conduct, because I use this method myself all the time. This is simply how I think about presentations, and I hope you find it interesting. The starting point to any presentation for me is to think about whether we're asking for a big change, medium change, or a small change. Now, all of these lead us in different directions. If we want to only make a small change, then we'll use small words and so forth in order to bring about the change that we want to achieve. Otherwise, we need to use stronger words in the way that we talk. What's the goal? What's the goal with this particular presentation? So write it down, maximum 10 words. In this case, I wrote the words talk to win. Happens to be 3 words. Well, that's fewer than 10, so that's okay. But I wrote them down at the beginning of the presentation. And then write roughly 3 key bullet points that you think are needed in order to achieve the goal that you just wrote. And in my case, I wrote the audience, you, the message, and business. So I wrote 4. That's roughly 3. Do take the trouble to write those down and then start thinking about your audience. Now, if you're looking to create change where people will do something that they would otherwise not do, then you're asking for an emotional response from your audience. In order to achieve that, we need to understand who our audience is. Way ahead of the meeting, go into LinkedIn, find out what you can about the people that are going to be listening. If you're meeting people, then try to get some pre-time with your audience. If you're speaking to a large group of people, then walk around among them and find out some personal stories from the people that you're going to be talking to. I assure you that people will be watching you. So the fact that you're reaching out by walking around and asking people is something that people recognize, and it creates this wonderful unifying and inclusive atmosphere which is needed for a dialogue. And a dialogue is what you need. So that's nice. Try to understand the needs that your audience has, the values they have, and the challenges that they face, so that you can then pose questions and make observations and use examples that actually resonate with your audience. And that's key, because emotional resonance is your goal. You want to talk in such a way that the windows melt. Now, if you want to speak with true emotional resonance, you need to know with whom you're talking, of course. So that's necessary. And it's necessary because people will change only because they want to. And the thing that causes them to want to change is the emotion. So you need to get to that emotion. In order to get to the emotion, you need to understand who it is you're communicating with. You need to connect via shared values using keywords that are all about the ambitions and the hopes and feelings of security and freedom that this particular audience has. You need to use trust language, and with trust language, I mean language that your audience identifies with, something that enables partnership, business to be done, enables decisions to be made. So, okay, that's kind of nice, all this stuff about the audience. Now let me surprise you a little bit. When I said the word you previously as being one of the 4 bullet points, I actually meant you. Think about who you are in terms of this particular meeting, in terms of this particular presentation? What is the identity that you bring to this? I stopped playing poker in 2009, but one of the key things in poker is to create table presence so that you can cause people to act in a manner that you wish them to act. And that's really applicable now. Meeting presence, table presence, presentation presence, how are you coming across? And the starting point is to create a really inclusive and uniting tone. If your audience feels that you're splitting your audience into multiple segments, then you will lock people in such a way that they will not be able to make decisions. You need to include and unite in order to create the decisions that you want to come from this particular meeting. You need to be authentic and sincere in order to build the trust for it. And you need to be approachable. So if you're talking to a friend in such a way that you're talking down to your friend, then your friend will not believe you. You need to be open to questions, and that approachability gives trust. So the whole impression you give needs to be one about approachability, because you're so comfortable in what you're saying that you're prepared to have a dialogue about it. That gives trust, and that enables people to change their minds. That enables people to make the decision that you want people to make. Also, if you're in a meeting or in a presentation, you need to show commitment to that meeting or that presentation, which means not fiddling with your phone, not fiddling with your laptop, not having side conversations unless you really need to. Because you're trying to get this group of people to make decisions that go in your direction. In that case, you need to be committed to this meeting. If you're not committed, why would they be? You're asking them to make an emotional change. Why would they? You don't even believe in this meeting. So again, emotional resonance is the key to that. I think we've all read many articles about the importance of body language. Okay, so there are some obvious things. Instead of turning away, of course, we want to turn towards our audience. That's pretty obvious. But most of those articles that you and I have read are articles that I don't really believe in, because I think it comes down to some really simple things. First of all, breathe. Ensure that you're always breathing appropriately. Be open so that people can ask you questions, feel that they can ask you questions, which means that you can move on. Be deliberate. Don't go sideways, be deliberate. Go towards the goal. And keep eye contact. People want to trust you. They need to trust you in order to make emotional change. You need to enable that. Now, we're still talking about who we are as the person talking. So in your case, what is your personal story? Now, this is a really, really, really good thing to do. So try to define your personal story. Try to define it in terms of the passion that it comes with, the expertise it comes with, and express it as if you were talking to a friend. Let me take an example. My first Forex year in 2019 was COVID time, and I learned tough lessons in strategy and risk. That's your personal story coming up. My goal today is to share my learnings to increase your chance of success. That's the passion. Over the past 5 years, I've helped over 100 clients achieve life-changing success. That's expertise. And finally, like many here, I built my position in Forex from nothing. So that's showing that you're a friend, that this is a dialogue. You're connecting on all the... Your personal story proves to you that you are the right person to be in this meeting. Now, you can also use your personal story to prove to the audience that you're the right person for this meeting. So all those words I just said are words that you can say to your audience at the beginning of a meeting. It establishes table presence and communicates who you are for the purposes of this meeting. But if it's people that you've already met before, then perhaps you don't need to do that. It's still good to be very clear about what your personal story is for you, because it will give you confidence when you talk. And that's key when you're making that first impression. You only have one chance to make a first impression. So take your chance to make a first impression. Take it. Establish that table presence. Use words such as, hello, it's wonderful to have these moments with you. Let's make a difference together. You might recognize those words. I used them at the beginning of the presentation for a reason. It's in order to build a connection with you. The word hello is incredibly powerful. It's disarming because it's so simple. It's friendly. It's uniting and inclusive. It's a wonderful word. That's the reason I said those things in the beginning. And they really, really, really work. Obviously, there are situations where your clients have little time. Maybe they're sitting in a car and you only have a couple of moments. In that case, your personal story has to be very much shorter. Good, excellent. So rehearse a couple of personal stories, a short one and a longer one, and be ready to just shoot those out in order to create that table presence that we spoke of earlier. It really works. Furthermore, as you learn about your audience, you will learn about their ideals, their values, and their aspirations, what they want in life. Now, with all people on the planet, there will be some values that we have in common with them, even people that we really don't like. So good, but these are people where we're asking them to make a change. We're asking these people to make a change. They might be very unlike us, but there will be something that unites us. So good, unite and include by appealing to shared values, and then ask for a change. Take it in two steps. First of all, create the channel of communication by appealing to shared values. Once you have that channel of communication ready, then you can ask for a behavioral change, for a decision that you actually want them to take. Let me take some examples. There are fairness values, and in that case, it's all about an equal chance and perhaps an equal chance of profitable or loss-making trades, for instance. But with those words, you're appealing to people who have strong fairness values. Social care values. Well, it's very important to protect traders with good stop-loss strategies. So some people will resonate, for some people that message will resonate if social care values are strong within that particular client. Authority values. So some people will like it if you say that you have a senior IB who reports to you as your primary support as a trader. Now, that type of hierarchical message may very well resonate with people who have authority values that are very, very strong. So that can help in that situation. Some people have loyalty values. We need to stand up for children, and we do that with social care initiatives. So that's nice. That's a good message along those values. Dignity values. Well, people trade, withdraw, and deposit when they choose to, and that's their decision. So I'm respecting the other part by saying that's their decision. So I'm appealing to the dignity values. And for some people, that's a common value that we can share. Or liberty values. Our clients are free to choose the license under which they access global markets. That's a liberty value, and some people will resonate with that. So if we think about talking to a freedom lover, someone who's really wild, then the last thing they want to hear about is the senior main IB's reporting structure within the hierarchy. That's not what they want to hear, because they don't believe in hierarchies in the first place. Similarly, if we talk to someone for whom law and order is super, super important, then they don't want to hear about decentralized finance and crypto and forget the government and so forth. So our messaging needs to appeal to the ideals and values so that we can connect. Having said all of those things, I've actually gone through half the time you need to make a good presentation. And we still haven't started actually writing the presentation. So before writing the presentation, that needs to be considered. The beauty of that is that if you do consider those things carefully, then writing the presentation just falls out of it, just flows out of it. What am I trying to achieve? Was the first thing we spoke about a few moments ago. Who is my audience and how will I enter their world? Who am I from the perspective of this audience and from my perspective? Who am I? How do I create my presence? A clear plan on how I create my presence. What's my proposal? Which is what I'm trying to achieve, the first point I've made. And what action will I be asking my client to take now? So those things first. Once those are in place, it's time to start making the presentation. Now, I'm not going to start writing a presentation for you now, live here in this, on this particular video call, but let's just go through a couple of things that are really, really important. To me, your personal story is the key to that. If you can explain to yourself what your personal story is for the purposes of this meeting or this presentation, then what's there to worry about? Because you've just explained to yourself why you have the passion and the expertise to be in this meeting. And if you feel more worried about that, just say it to the client. And you'll find that from the client's expression, you'll see that the client actually is comfortable with what you just said. That means that you are qualified to be part of this meeting. You are qualified to be part of this presentation. You will find that your nerves start melting away. And there's more, because your audience wants you. If they wanted a bunch of numbers and a bunch of documents, you could send it over to them by WhatsApp or by email or however you want to do it. But your audience wants you. That's the reason they are in this meeting. That's the reason they are listening to you in this presentation. They want your presence and your voice. They want your perspectives, your beliefs, and your actions. They actually want you. Surely that melts away nerves. If you know that you're strong enough to do it, and you feel that your audience wants you, and you've already reached out to understand who your audience is. So give the talk that only you can give. In creating your presentation, don't create a presentation where you can take your presentation and give it to another company and it would be the same presentation, it would still work. Nah. Don't even make a presentation where you could give your presentation and give it to one of your colleagues and it would still work the same. Nah. People want you personally. So create the talk that only you can give, which is personal, which is all about you. Ground your talk in your experience. So we all have experience. I'm an old guy, so I've held quite a few talks over the years, and I'm grounding this talk in my experience as someone who has talked in front of clients, partners, friends many times. Ground the talk in your experience. It helps you in many ways. Firstly, it helps your credibility and trust. But secondly, it helps you when you get lost, because we all sometimes get lost. We get sidetracked in some way. Good. If the whole talk is grounded in your experience, then your ability to reset your compass and come back and rescue the situation is much greater, because this is home territory for you all the way. In the beginning of the talk, give your reasons to be here. Why am I doing this talk? In this instance, I'm giving this talk because maybe I have something to offer in terms of how to talk and how to present. Hopefully, that's true. Give your reasons in the beginning of the talk. Don't be afraid of pressure. Pressure is a privilege. If there's no pressure, then there's no point in doing it. You want some pressure. Pressure is good. And remember, your audience does not want 100 slides. Your audience wants you. That's the reason they're in the room, not because of wanting to see 100 slides. However, you do want to know your subject. And I'm really serious about that. It's better to keep your presentation shorter so that when you have questions, you're ready to back up questions with answers. And by keeping it shorter, it means that you get more time on conversion and actually making that decision happen. So not too many slides, not 100 slides. Keep it short enough and leave some things open so that people can ask questions. Keep it short. Take the time needed to keep it short. Take the time needed to learn about what you're going to talk about. And this is where, in my view, ChatGPT, Bing, Gemini are fantastic. They're incredibly good for inspiration and ideas. Super, super good. But ChatGPT, Gemini, Bing are not going to write your presentation for you, because in that case they could write the same presentation for everyone else, and people want you. So those are fabulous tools in order to help you. Maybe they can give you a structure, but it's still you. It's got to be you. Keep your presentation simple enough and then earn trust by answering questions with added detail. It's beautiful. Furthermore, when it comes to speaking, if you can't explain your message to a 6-year-old, then you need to go back, learn your subject until you're good enough to explain it to a 6-year-old. And I'm serious about that. I really am. Because if you don't understand your subject well enough, then your subject is not going to be a shared understanding between you and your counterpart. And if it's not a shared understanding, it means that your counterpart feels excluded. And if your counterpart feels excluded, what happens is an animal reaction which goes back many hundreds of thousands of years, where people are afraid of being excluded. 100,000 years ago, being excluded from the tribe was fatal rejection. You had to be part of the tribe. If you explain things in such a way that you exclude people, you are forbidding them from making a decision in your favor. So you must include. And if you're going to include, you need to know your subject well enough to explain it in such a way that people actually feel it, so that it emotionally resonates, so that they are with you in what you're saying. You have to know your subject. There's no way around it. No way around it. It's just work. Enjoy it. Next thing. All right, so now we know our subject and so forth, and we've written our presentation. I'm not writing a presentation for you. That's for you to do. I'm not going to do the verbals for your particular message. However, before you enter into that dialogue with the audience where you want them to make a decision in your favor, before you enter into that dialogue, make it a home game instead of an away match. All of us that are sports fans are very much aware that teams that are home teams typically win the game, and teams that are away teams typically lose the game. So home games are better than away matches. That's always true. So make it a home game. You can, it's within your power. Speak through your presentation several times before you actually give the presentation. This is the first time I've given this presentation to someone outside the company. This moment is the first time, but I've already run through this presentation a couple of times with colleagues and friends in order to see how it feels. Why? Because it would be disrespectful of me to not do that. Because I need to convey something. I'm trying to convey something, and for me to do that efficiently, I have to be comfortable. This has to be a home game. It's very useful to film or record your talk. That really helps. I know it sounds weird. If you haven't done it before, it's going to sound really weird. I promise it helps. Put your phone on the side, Speak through your full presentation and then watch yourself. You will cringe, you will find it painful to do. Excellent. Ask yourself why you're cringing, why it's painful. You'll find yourself improving. It really, really helps to film yourself holding a presentation. Really, really help. Get your friends to listen. If you have friends who have the patience to listen to you speak, then do that. I think my friends would probably throw me out of the house, but there we are. And here comes one of my personal tricks. I've seen many situations where people have bought a new suit, shirt, tie, shoes, handbag, whatever, and then they go live in front of an audience, go live straight into a meeting. You just made it an away match. If you have any new garments anywhere, new hairstyle, new shave, anything new, test it the day before. You don't have to wear it all day. You still want the clothes to be fresh. But wear all of the same things the day before for a couple of hours at least, so that when you're in that meeting, when you're in that dialogue, it's a home game. There's nothing surprising. You know what's in this pocket. You don't need to check. That's a really big message from me. It really helps me, at least. And if you're speaking to a larger audience, then there's a possibility that someone will introduce you. Okay, so check it all out beforehand. Write a little introduction about yourself. Talk to the person who will introduce you and give that piece of paper to that person. Help them in their job. It helps them in their job, but it also aligns what they say with what you're going to say. Get the right words in there, get the right emphasis in there. Really, really nice little thing. Help them, help them, help them help you. It makes everyone happier. So that really works. Also, check the detail. If you're speaking on a video call, make sure that you know how you switch from PowerPoint to a video, from a video to a PowerPoint. Check that it all flows. Check that going from a personal presentation going into the PowerPoint, that works. Check that it works to come back out. Check all these details. Check the microphone, check the lighting, make sure that you can be seen. If you can't be seen, then move into the light. Check the microphone, don't keep it at varying distances. I quite often rest it against my chin in order to have a constant level of sound so that people can concentrate. So those are big things for me. Mingle with the audience, get to know them as well as you can. Unite your audience by telling stories from the audience. So if you can mingle with your audience beforehand and pick up 2 stories by 2 different people and just mention it during your talk, you've just united and included the audience in your talk, and it makes it much easier for everyone to make the right decision. I even thank for the water bottle. Now, I don't need to drink water when I talk. I don't need to drink water when I walk, but quite often people put a water bottle next to you if you speak. I typically pick up the bottle and say, thank you, dear organizer, and I appreciate this. It's nice. Manners maketh man. It gives trust and it's inclusive. It's really, really nice. So let's dig further into trust for a moment. Your audience will decide if your audience wants to trust you or not trust you. And that's outside your control. But the things that are in your control is to be clear when you speak. If you choose to not be clear, your audience will choose to not trust you. It's very simple. So be clear. And you can split your language there on a couple of levels. You have the casual part where you're just being friendly. And in that situation, what I do is I use words like don't and can't and so forth, all these abbreviated words. But when it comes to business time, when I'm being more serious, I don't do that. I don't use abbreviated words. I use the words do not and cannot because they're clear. And especially if we're speaking with an American audience where people expect you to say can't and can't, that difference is very, very small. But the difference between can and cannot is clear. So be really clear. Also, Talk, when you're in a dialogue, you want to be talking as if you're talking to a friend. Now, if you're talking to friends, you use words like use instead of utilize. So don't use words like utilize because you're trying to impress people. No, skip that. Use the real word because you're trying to connect to people. So use the real word that really describes what it's all about. Also, don't go crazy in terms of being extreme. So, in my opinion, I really avoid words like always and never because I feel that they mean that people don't trust me because it's not always and it's not never. It's always often or seldom. And by using the words often and seldom, I feel that it's much easier to connect to the audience because it's true. It might not be as fancy as people expect, but it's true. And it enables people to connect in such a way that we can make the same decision together. Now, I'm going to say two things to you. And the reason I'm going to say these two things to you is because I want to show the effect of derailing people. Okay, so if I say something that's unclear, then the audience will think, oh, what was that? And while they're working that out, I'm already on to the next thing. By the time the audience tunes into the next thing, I've already lost them. They're thinking about something else. And at that point, they switch off. They're gone. So being clear is all about enabling the audience to stay with you. Now, I'm going to say two things. They are exactly the same things. One of them is clear, and the other one will derail people. And watch this. Be simply positive. And now for the second one, which is exactly the same thing. Avoid the not uncommon habit to use double negatives. Now, one of those sentences will send the audience off and you've lost them. And the other one, be simply positive, boom, they're there with you. So be clear. And if that's difficult, then just choose words that are easy to pronounce. If you're not comfortable about pronouncing the words that you're intending to pronounce, then use ChatGPT, Bing, Gemini, whatever, to find synonyms to make it easy and clear. Think about the audience. If the audience is unlikely to understand a word, then clarify it. Explain what the word is, and you've suddenly included them. They're all with you. I'll give you an example in a few moments. Secondly, furthermore, statistics. I think statistics are very important if you're doing a presentation, but only use statistics when you want to nail a point. There's a specific thing that you want to communicate. That's when you use a number as a part of that message. Don't spread numbers around just for the sake of it, because people won't know which number to concentrate on. And if they don't know which number to concentrate on, you're being unclear, you've lost them. So only use numbers when you absolutely need them, and use them then to make specific points. Tell the truth. So if you want people to trust you enough to change themselves, and they need to change themselves to stay with you and make the decision that you want, then tell the truth. I mean, you can omit facts and still be true, but do tell the truth. Don't create facts. Don't just come up with things. If you get caught out on one, boom, you're lost forever. So don't create facts. It's very, very distracting. And be honest, such as some clients lose money and some clients win. That's true. I've just created trust by acknowledging that fact. Be first to tackle bad news, such as, I know you lost money. Let's find a way to get you back on track so that you're doing well again. But be first to say bad news. Just acknowledge it so that you can take people with you. If you wait for other people to first say bad news, then you're on the back foot, you're on the defensive, and at that point, you've lost it. So take control of bad news, take control of good news, emphasize the good, de-emphasize the bad, but do acknowledge the bad. You definitely want that. At that point, you can move towards conversion. Now we've established trust and communication with our counterparts. So now let's convert them. All right, so if we're trying to convert them, what's the size of the decision? Well, the size of the decision decides your wording when you come to conversion. I think it makes sense to be unpredictable throughout so that you maintain interest, but unpredictability is something that you can make stronger by using some mellifluous words. So mellifluous are a beautiful word. It kind of means melodic. It kind of sounds nice type of word. And some mellifluous words are gentle and are very efficient when it comes to small changes, whereas some mellifluous words are more radical and are useful when asking people to make big changes. I think it makes sense to use mellifluous words as a part of going in towards conversion, because I think it's necessary to rock people's world a little bit, get them a little bit uncomfortable so that they do make a change, so that they recognize the need to make a change. You need to surprise them just a little bit. And I find that, or a lot, and I find that these surprises are quite often well delivered by using these mellifluous words. So you can surprise people slightly by using mellifluous words like luminous and graceful. Those are gentle mellifluous words, luminous and graceful. They're really nice. Graceful is a wonderful word. Or if you're asking people to make a big decision, then maybe you want to surprise them by using words like destiny and cascade. Now, just think about those words in the wrong context. If you're asking people to just open an account, then destiny and cascade are much too strong words, whereas graceful and nice and grateful, and those words are much nicer. Whereas if you're asking an IB to move their business from one country to another, then the destiny of your business is to cascade your income by moving to Dubai. Totally different. So good. So words like that are really good, and using ChatGPT, Gemini, Bing in order to find appropriate mellifluous words for your presentation or for your talk does help. I find it very useful. I always find it useful to vary the sentence structure and the strength of voice. You can't always run at 100. You have to vary a little bit, give people time to breathe, give yourself time to breathe. So the vocal strength, the rhythm, and the sentence structure are things that I like to vary. And throughout the presentation, emphasize positive, acknowledge negatives. I think that's always good. Finally, come to the point where you make a specific decision with your client. We are making a deposit. We are opening an account. We are withdrawing money. So come to the point where you make a specific decision. Don't make a general decision, make a specific decision. That's the purpose of this meeting. That's the purpose of this talk. That's the purpose of you and me spending time together right now. You need to have the guts to do that. Specific decisions do matter. So, all in all, on the other side of it, you want to come out with your client and your counterpart, or whoever you're communicating with, feeling hope. Hope is a beautiful thing. On the other side of the decision, the effect of everything should be hope. Hope is the best positive end to your meeting. Hope is the best possible end to a presentation to many people, so that people feel that there is a positive future. Realistic hope is a powerful motivator for change. It really is. We all believe that the future will be better than the past. It's a beautiful human thing that we all believe that the future will be better than the past. In saying that, we're not crazy. We do understand the limitations of hope. So we do understand that within realistic hope, we need to think about the goals, the willpower, and the pathways to achieve that hope. So that's important. But hope is a wonderful thing. And many studies show that people with hope live longer, and people with hope live happier. So it makes sense for all of us to feel hope. And it really makes sense when we meet with people to create a situation where we make a decision together that involves hope. We're actually spreading happiness to ourselves and to the client, to our counterpart, by embedding hope in our presentation, realistic hope. It really does help. So I have a specific ask here. I have 3 specific asks here as a result of this presentation. Everyone on this call is an established and ascending professional. And why did I say that? Everyone on this call is an established and ascending professional. Well, I used the word established professional to appeal to some of your values, and I used the word ascending, growing, in order to appeal to another value that I believe you have. And by appealing both to the established professional value and to the ascending value, I hope that I've included and united all of you. That's the reason I use those words. So everyone on this call is an established and ascending professional. Please tell me, first of all, please tell me if this presentation makes any sense and how this presentation can be improved. So that's my first ask. I'm asking you to give me feedback on this presentation. That's one ask. My second ask is to please consider this presentation next time you're going to be going into a meeting or a big presentation with other people. Think about the audience thinking in the beginning, the thinking about you, the thinking about the trust that you're going to build, the fact that the audience wants you and your voice, and think about leading to a specific ask with a specific result. So that's my second ask. And my third ask, which I think is absolutely most important, is please have fun today. Thank you.